guys, welcome to the Bridge Online. We are so excited that you're here, whether you're watching in the future, a million years from now, or you're watching on the exact Wednesday night that this has premiered. We are super pumped that you're here, and we cannot wait to jump into an awesome message, an awesome series, and some amazing small groups tonight. If you have never been online at the Bridge, or you've never been to the Bridge in real life, this is brand new to you, and you are a middle school or high school student, we want to get to know you. Like, this is why the Bridge is here. It's for real people, not just, the internet. We are super pumped that you are here, and we want to get to know you. So text Bridge to 94,000. It's on the screen in case you already forgot that number. We want to give you a free gift. We want to legitimately mail you something because everyone loves being mailed a present. So we want to give you a free gift and get to know you actually as a human being. So make sure you do that so that we can know who you are. We're super pumped to start a new series today about doubt. I know you're probably thinking like, whoa, we're at like church online right now and they're talking about doubt. This is where we talk about faith. Guys, doubt is real. I've had doubts. I know everyone on our team has had doubts in some point at some time. We all have those moments where we question what we believe in, and we're so excited for the next 3 weeks. We're gonna dig into that with you. And so we have Nate with a special guest speaker. Nate is here tonight, and I can't wait for you to hear his message, so check it out.
Hey y'all, it is so great to be with you, and we are beginning a brand new series called Unbelievable. I'm Nate, and have you ever had one of those moments where you're like, oh man, that's unbelievable, and you actually thought the thing was unbelievable in like a good way, and then you have the other moment where you're like, that's unbelievable, like I don't believe that at all. Well, let me give you a scenario and see which you are with this. Did you know there are literally like 500,000 people out there right now that believe that all the birds in the United States, all of them have died? And the birds we see now, they are just drones. Now, why did this happen? Well, the CIA decided they were sick of bird poop. Yes, folks, they were sick of bird poop. Also, they decided they wanted to spy on you. So what better plan, 2 birds, 1 stone, right? To kill off all the birds with a virus over years to replace them with 12 billion replica drones, right? And I know you got questions like, okay, there's still bird poop. Well, don't worry, it's just oil dropping from those drones, right? I know you got questions like about the different kinds of birds. Well, did you know that the vultures are just sanitation drones? Yeah, they just help keep the world moving, right? Hummingbirds are assassination drones. This is all for real. People believe this. Do you? I don't know. I'm more nah, that's unbelievable. I just don't believe that one. But here's the thing. These kind of theories are all over the place, and it makes you wonder, right? It makes you doubt. It makes you question reality a little bit when 500,000 people believe there are no birds. But you know what? There's also other moments where you thought something was unbelievable and like, no, it's not real. And then it ends up being real. I had one of those moments growing up, y'all. Now, I wanna ask, how many of you guys are math people? I am not a math person. I am terrible at math. Math might as well be magic, okay? Because it just doesn't compute in my head. I'm pretty sure that my second grader is better at math than me. And I distinctly remember the moment when one of my math teachers got up there and started talking about how we were gonna have letters and numbers go together in math equations. And I was like, no. Numbers are for math, letters are for the freaking alphabet and words. No, they do not go together. I just thought algebra was some bad joke to make me feel like an idiot, okay? And maybe that's just because that was normal in math, but what I found to my shock and my dismay is it was true. Letters and numbers can go together in math. Y'all, this is crazy, this world we live in. But I had to get used to the fact that something I thought just couldn't be true was actually true. Now, here's the thing. Like, when you think about all the different things going on in our world, things you believe true, things you believe aren't true, do you ever just stop and go like, is what I believe really worth believing? Do you ever wonder if you've actually got some things figured out? I mean, for some of us, when we come into a place like a church and we hear a message from a pastor like me, you might be sitting there thinking, I don't believe any of this stuff. Like, you may even think this whole Christianity, God, Jesus, the Bible, I don't think any of it's true. And I just want you to know, if you're here today and you've asked questions like that, you're not alone. You're welcome here. You're not the only one. And if you're here today and you're like, I'm a Christian and I've never really had any questions, I might say something to you right now that might seem unbelievable, but the truth is you are gonna have questions and doubts someday. How do I know? Because I experience doubts all the time. I know that might sound weird coming from someone who's like preaching a message to you about the Bible and God, that I have doubts about God and the Bible sometimes, but I do. I've had them in the past. I still have them today. And is that okay? Like, can I say that I have faith in Jesus and still have questions about things I read about him in the Bible? Is that all right? Can faith and doubt and questions, can they coexist? Well, tonight we're gonna discover God's perspective on that. And so I wanna start off, well, what is doubt exactly? Well, let's define it as this. It's calling a premise into question. And as you hit middle school and high school, that's what you're supposed to do, is to question things, is to figure out what you really think about things. And it's an important part of the process. And I want to talk about that process in a moment. This might be helpful for you. So growing up as a kid, you get handed a box of beliefs, so to speak, things that you're supposed to think about the world, from teachers, from parents. And if you're a Christian, you may have heard different things about this world, maybe from a pastor, about what you're supposed to think about God. Now, what could I possibly get to represent God in a box, right? So I just got a bunch of ducks to help me today. I want to get all my ducks in a row. So a bear duck seems like that's not really real. It's kind of crazy. That's next level. So let's say this represents your view of God, who created you in his image and is a personal, loving God that we learn about in Christianity. And of course, we learn a lot about Jesus, who's God who came to earth. And I kind of figured Jesus would be like a surfer dude duck, maybe, I don't know. But we learn a lot of things about him coming as God on earth and saving us from our sins on the cross. And we're supposed to trust the Bible, right? And be really down with the Bible. And this was kind of like a scholarly duck or something, I don't know. But we're supposed to trust the Bible and what it reveals to us about God. And then we're taught a lot about heaven, this perfect place that God created. And I imagine that there would definitely be unicorn ducks in heaven. So we got our heaven representation here. And then we have a perspective about the church, you know, and what better to represent the church than a helicopter? I don't know. But this represents the church and how essential it is to our life. And so we're given all these beliefs as a kid, and we just accept them, right? It's just what we're supposed to believe. But then what happens? You know, we get into middle school and high school, and maybe someone asks you a question, or maybe you go through a really difficult experience, or maybe you don't really know what you think about something, and it kind of starts to shake your beliefs, right? And maybe someone asks you a question about, like, do you really believe that God created you in his image? Do you even really believe that God exists? I mean, come on. And you find yourself doubting your beliefs in God, and it kind of gets shaken out of your beliefs. And then someone asks you a question like, you don't really believe Jesus rose from the dead. And you're like, well, do I believe he rose from the dead? And you feel like that's shaking your belief about Jesus. And you feel like you lost your perspective on Jesus. And so you run into pain, and you wonder about God being good, and it shakes your belief on, is there really even a heaven? I don't know. And so you find your beliefs challenged, and you find these doubts rising up. And suddenly things don't fit so neatly into your perspective that you were told they should. And you start to question, what is really true? And when it comes to faith, that can be a really difficult thing, because you might think, if I have doubts and questions, that must mean I've lost my faith in Jesus. And is that true? I mean, ultimately, doubts can be so powerful, right? Doubts can have such a great effect on us. And the truth is, for better or for worse, doubts actually can bring you to the greatest hope that you've ever experienced, but they can also lead you away into despair. They can bring you to truth, or they can drag you away from it. Doubt can cause you to fall into faith, or it can cause you to fall out of it. So doubt and faith have this really complex relationship. And my prayer is that you'll see today that doubt and questions doesn't actually have to lead you away from Jesus. No, it can lead you to an even deeper and more real faith in Jesus that can lead you to life that he wants to give you. And I know this to be true because I've experienced it in my life. I know this to be true because we read over and over again from the beginning to the end of the Bible of all kinds of people who had doubts and had struggles trusting God, and yet Jesus met them in that. And so today we're going to look at some of Jesus' closest followers, and we're going to see how Jesus responds to their questions and their doubts, so you know how he responds to yours. And so we're going to do that by opening up the book of John together. If you have a Bible, if you want to pull it up, we'll put it on the screen as well. But we're going to start right there in the first chapter. And in the first chapter, John, he makes some crazy claims about who Jesus is and who Jesus said he was. Like that Jesus was there when the whole universe was created. That it is through Jesus that you and I were created. That Jesus is the light of the world. That he came as God on earth. All this is happening right in the first chapter of John. And he's interacting with some people who should have known he was coming. The people of God who had these predictions about Jesus. And then he shows up, and guess how they respond? Check it out. In 1 John 1, 9 through 11, it says, the true light, Jesus, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet, look at this, the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. See, from the very beginning, people doubted who Jesus was. Even the people who should have seen him when he came and recognized him for who he was, even those did not receive him. But did Jesus decide not to come because of that? No, he still came. Why? Why did he come when we had doubts? Why did he come if we were going to ask questions? Well, look, in 1 John 1:12, it says, but to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Yo, Jesus is so good. I mean, think about that. He came knowing you and I, his creation, would reject him. He came just on the chance that we would put our trust in him and believe in him so that we could become children of God. Y'all, that is next level. Think about it. Jesus came to rescue us, even though we've rejected him. Even though we took the precious life that he's given us and we wreck it all the time with our sin. Even though many of us continue to reject him, even after knowing about him, he still came for us. Why? So that he could give us the opportunity to become children of God, to be loved by God, to experience eternity with God in heaven, in perfection. Jesus is incredible. And clearly, he is not unaware of our questions. And clearly, he's not afraid of our questions either. And what's so cool is if we just go a few more verses forward, we'll see that one of his followers right at the beginning had questions, and we'll get to see how he responds. So when Jesus began his ministry, he started calling people to follow him, and he found this one dude named Philip, and he said, I want you to be one of my disciples. In other words, I want you to be a student or an apprentice of mine, a follower of mine. And Philip was like, I'm in. He was so excited to follow Jesus. And Philip immediately ran to one of his friends, Nathaniel, and told him all about Jesus. Check it out. In verses 43, it says, the next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, follow me. Now, Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Now, he's basically saying the Old Testament has predicted, and it's this dude is going to come, and it's Jesus, right? So he's really excited. But look at Nathanael's response to his friend's discovery. He's like, can anything good come from Nazareth? That's kind of like salty, right? That's kind of harsh. I mean, why is he coming back at his friend who's like, I found the dude? And he's like, nah, I'll believe it when I see it. Nothing good could possibly come from Nazareth. Why did he respond that way? Well, it's kind of like when we say friends don't let friends live in Dallas, right? Because what good could come from Dallas? I mean, all Dallas has got is a bunch of traffic and an underperforming football team, am I right? But what was Nathanael's problem with Nazareth? Well, it's just this tiny village. It's this nothing place. There's no way the Messiah, the Savior of the world, the King of the universe was going to come from there. That's simply unbelievable. But here's what he missed. He didn't realize Jesus was, yes, grew up in Nazareth, but do you know where he was actually from? He was born in a town of Bethlehem, which the Old Testament had predicted that. But he just missed it. He didn't know the truth about Jesus. He just assumed some things about Jesus. See, that's the crazy thing about Jesus, y'all, if you're willing to really dig, there's some incredible things you find out. There's all these predictions that were made in the Old Testament that Jesus actually fulfilled in his life. Like so many prophecies. Now, maybe you're not familiar with the Old Testament and the New Testament, these prophecies, and so maybe this analogy will help you. Think about it this way. Imagine that in Waco, Texas, ancient scrolls are discovered that are literally like 1,000 years old. They were written 1,000 years ago, okay? They were written before Columbus sailed the ocean blue and came to America. They were written before the American Revolution, and yet they predicted that there would be this dude named George Washington, and they predicted that there would be this guy that would come in our day that would be born in George Washington's lineage. And this person would be descended from a long line of important founders of America, all to be known from Virginia. And then on top of that, the scrolls reveal that this guy who's to come in our day, that's supposed to be this big savior, that he was going to be born in Texas, in Tarrant County, in the city of Azle. And miraculously, he's going to be born to a virgin mother. And then at the time of his birth, all these dignitaries are just going to somehow know he was born, and they're just going to show up, and they're going to bring him honor and worship and praise and gifts because of who this kid is going to be. Y'all, I want you to understand that scenario I just painted actually happened. The Old Testament predicted so many specific things about Jesus that he fulfilled, things that he couldn't have controlled unless if he was God, okay? All these things that Jesus has fulfilled in century-old predictions came true in him. And we can't go into all of them, but let me just give you a couple. In Jeremiah 23:5-6, it literally predicts that we would know Jesus was from the line of King David, which he was. In Micah 5:2, it actually predicts that he would be born in Bethlehem. And then he was. In Isaiah 7:14, we know that he was to be born of a virgin. That one's kind of hard to pull off, and yet that's exactly what happened. And think about it. Can you control who your mother is? Can you control what lineage you're in? Can you control where you're born? No. All those things just happened to us, right? Well, Jesus fulfilled all of those predictions and even more. And again, Nathanael missed this. He believed a lie about Jesus. He didn't understand where he was really from. And so I think that can happen to us. We can miss the power of Jesus because we believe some lies about him, or we assume some bad things about him, and we forget that we need to investigate things and really figure things out. And here's what I want you to hear. Is there are several hundred prophecies that Jesus fulfills. But listen, the chances of Jesus fulfilling just 8 is the same probability. Listen, the chances that Jesus fulfills just 8 is the same probability as filling the state of Texas, that's a big state, right? 2 feet deep with silver dollars and sending in someone blindfolded to find 1 marked coin. The chances of that person finding the correct coin mirror the chances of Jesus fulfilling just 8 of the hundreds of prophecies he fulfilled. My point here is this. Sometimes we can have doubts and questions, and they can cause us just to stop investigating. But if you're willing to press through, you're going to find deep and beautiful answers if you continue to pursue Jesus. So don't let your doubts or questions knock you off the path. No, allow them to drive you to discover more about who he is. And that's the good news about Nathanael. Yeah, he believed a lie about Jesus. He didn't realize he came from Bethlehem. He thought he was just from Nazareth. But he actually still had an interaction with Jesus. The story doesn't stop there, and I want to encourage you with what happens next. Look at it. It says this, Philip said to him, after he gave him the snarky response about Nazareth, he said to him, "Come and see." And Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael said to Jesus, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered him, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." See, the story continues because Nathanael, in his doubts, he was still willing to go and find out who this Jesus was. And look at how Jesus responds to his skepticism. look what it says. He doesn't respond in anger or frustration. How dare you question me? No, he actually says, look, Nathanael, you are a man of integrity. You're a man of honesty. You're smart. You're not going to be easily fooled. And Jesus almost seems to like the fact that Nathanael has questions. So even though Nathanael didn't just jump on the Jesus bandwagon from the beginning, he still saw who Jesus was as he interacted with Jesus. And then he just couldn't get over what he discovered. And you know that question Nathanael had about Jesus coming from Nazareth? He didn't even bring it up. Come to think of it, I wonder if he ever really brought it up again. Because the truth is this, he met Jesus personally. And when you meet Jesus personally, things change. When he met Jesus personally, everything changed. When I met Jesus personally, everything changed. And that can happen for you in your doubts, in your questions. His step to come and see Jesus, to listen to Jesus, then took him on an incredible journey for the rest of eternity. And Jesus even talks about that in the very next verse. Jesus answered him, because I said to you, I saw you under a fig tree, do you believe? You will see even greater things than these. And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God descending and descending on the Son of Man. Now, I know some of that sounds like, well, what the heck does that mean? But here's his point is I'm going to show you things that you didn't even think were possible. And that is true for me. And that is true for you. If you're willing to come into a relationship with Jesus, to trust him in the doubts and the questions, and to let him draw you into things that right now you don't even understand. Things that are next level, supernatural. That's where Jesus will lead us as we trust him in a relationship, even with our questions. So how do we do that? How do we lean into a relationship with Jesus when we still have doubts and questions, when we're going to have them all of our life? Well, it starts by seeing that doubt and faith are not opposites. Doubt doesn't mean unbelief. It means you have a question. And Jesus can handle your questions. So here's what I want to challenge you with. In your questions, in your doubts, don't doubt in the dark. Don't doubt in the dark. See, I meet way too many students who keep their questions, their struggles, their doubts in the dark. And they think, if I'm a good Christian, I would never ask questions. If I was a good Christian, I wouldn't have these doubts. And so I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to try to get over it myself. And you know what that leads to? Just more despair. More confusion, especially for those of you who are already Christians. You feel like I can't admit to this. And what happens is shame and confusion and hopelessness grows. And what I need you to understand in all this tonight is that you don't ever have to feel ashamed about a doubt or a question that you have, ever. You don't ever have to think, I can't ask that question. I can't have that doubt, because Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And so if I pursue the truth, I'm going to end up back at Jesus. See, doubts and questions are just a part of the journey of loving Jesus. And with God, and here at the Bridge, and at Doxology, our church, you don't ever, ever have to hide your questions or your doubts. We're in this together. See, the Bible is full of people who doubt, who struggle to trust God's promises. In the beginning to the end of the Bible, you see it happening all the time. In fact, in one of the most epic moments of the Bible, okay, Jesus literally has just come back from the dead, okay? And then he's like, I want you to meet me on this mountain. And if you go to Matthew 28, you can read about their interaction. So Jesus has just beat death. He meets them on a mountain. And he interacts with them. And then this happens. It says, now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had directed them. And when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. I mean, you would think Jesus would be like, what more do you want from me? You saw me crucified. You saw me in a grave. Now I'm alive. What do you mean you have doubts? But no, he doesn't say any of that. No, Jesus just lovingly tells them, continue to follow me. Pass on what I've shown you and trust me. I'll show you the answers to your doubts. So no more shame, no more hiding, No more living in the dark with your doubts. Your small group, this place, the bridge, this is the place for us to journey together through our questions. So we're not going to doubt in the dark anymore. No, no, no. Instead, we're going to bring our doubts to the light. And what does that look like? That looks like you just honestly going to Jesus and saying, Jesus, I just don't know how to make sense of whether you rose from the dead or not. Can you help me discover answers to that? And just pray and talk to him about that. It looks like you bringing those doubts to community and saying, well, why do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? What gives you confidence in that? And asking your small group leaders or whoever here around you and discovering answers together. Because y'all, there's some unbelievable evidence to why we believe Jesus rose from the dead. There is. And I want you to discover it. But you do that by praying and then seeking answers with community. And as you do that, I want to encourage you, be patient in the process. Answers don't always just come. You may be asking a question for a while. And it might take you a while. You may have to learn some things first before you can really get the answer to that question. Let me explain it this way. Remember the math analogy? Remember how I don't really get math? Well, my son, 2nd grade, he's just learning basic math right now. If I sat him down today and I gave him a geometry equation, or I gave him an algebra equation with those crazy letters and cosines and all those whatever, he'd be like, that's not real. I can't do that. That makes no sense. Why? Because he is just down here. He's just starting. He's just at the beginning of his journey with math. And we're asking him to skip a bunch of levels to try to understand something way up here. So what does he need? He needs to trust his teacher to walk him through all those pieces. And over time, he'll get to the place where geometry and other math, I don't know the words, he'll understand it. And I want you to understand that that's true with God. He's the ultimate teacher. You have to trust him that over time, maybe there's a question that you're wrestling with today that you're not going to get an answer on today. But trust that over time, he's going to reveal things that will help you either come to a sense of an answer or give you peace as you wrestle with the answer. So be patient. That's how we live in the light. We bring it to God, we bring it to community, and we're patient as we pursue answers. Will it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. Doubt is often uncomfortable, but as we accept that it is uncomfortable and we just move forward together, we can grow in a deeper relationship with Jesus that can be so transformative and can bring the ultimate things you're looking for. Jesus brings life, hope, peace, strength, unity, joy, and so much more. And it isn't always in the answer. It's in being near to Jesus. But you got to be on the journey with him. So here's what I want to encourage you with is, I think for a lot of us, our doubts feel a little bit like a backpack full of bricks. You have a question come up, someone challenges your belief on God, or you go through something really difficult, like someone gets sick, or there's a divorce or whatever, and you start to wonder where God is in the pain that you're feeling. And then you have questions about who the Holy Spirit is and how that all works. And your backpack just is getting heavier and heavier, and you've got all these different doubts. And here's the thing is, too often we get all these doubts, and man, that's really heavy. Jess was making fun of me earlier that I can't really lift that much weight, but I'm going to show her that I can. But you get all these doubts, and what we start to think is we start to think that the doubts are winning, and they just start to weigh us down, and we start to think, well, I can't possibly have, this backpack's really small, I can't possibly have faith while I've got these doubts. But here's the thing is, these doubts are going to help you discover even more deeply the faith that you feel convicted of. So yes, you can have doubts while you have faith. The question is, will you be like Nathaniel and continue to move forward, continue to ask Jesus questions? Too often we just stop and we refuse. We just let the doubts win. But don't let the doubt take you off the path. Let the doubts and questions drive you closer in discovering the beauty and the depth of following Jesus. Let's close in prayer. God, I just want to pray for these students, and I just want to pray, God, that the doubts, the questions, that they would see that they're just a part of the process and that they don't have to be ashamed, they don't have to hide, they don't have to live in the dark, because Jesus, you can handle our questions. Jesus can handle our questions. And so I pray that they would, like I have, go on this journey with you of discovering deep and beautiful answers and a deep and beautiful relationship with you, and then help each other to thrive and continue to grow, because questions are always going to come. But it's in finding the answers with you that we become truly remarkable people that make such a difference in this world and into eternity. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Friends, I love what Nate was saying, that Jesus can handle your questions. If there's nothing that you are thinking or a question about what we believe that is off limits right now, y'all. And we believe that we don't want you to just hear this message that it's okay to doubt, that that's normal and that could help you grow in your faith. We want you to actually dig into the things that you're doubting about. And honestly, we believe the best way for you to do that is to jump into a small group. No matter if you're watching this in the future or if you're watching this on the specific Wednesday night, we have small groups every Wednesday night, and we would love for you to jump into one. Every Wednesday night, check out the link below. At 8:15, you can jump into a group and talk to a real life person, a real small group leader, and talk about doubt. Even if they're onto a new series, I give you permission to derail the conversation and talk about doubt. Now, here's the thing. I can't promise that all of our small group leaders or your peers, the other students in your group, will know the answers. But here's the cool thing. We can dig into discovering more and more about Jesus together. And we want to invite you to do that with us. No matter what you believe, where you're at, we want to dig into this with you. We want to ask questions because Jesus can handle our questions. So check out a small group and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye. But we know that this is weird, that we always say goodbye and then we pop back up. But we want you to check out these videos, check out all of the videos that we've ever posted. Make sure you like and subscribe. We just wanted to say hi again. So, hello. Now for reals. Goodbye. Hope you have a good one. Cool.